very pleased to welcome Dr. Michael Hyek from Ohiohealth, which, as you know, is one of ColumbusRotary's corporate members. Dr. Hyek is Senior Director of the McConnell Heart Health Center. He'll be speaking on the topic, as President Paul said earlier, personal wellness and the wellness of your company. The McConnell Heart Health Center, if you don't know, is a medical fitness facility that's part of Ohiohealth. This unique center offers both clinical and retail services. Clinical services include physical therapy, cardiac and pulmonary rehab, medical and surgical weight management, and executive health. And I had physical therapy on my shoulder, and it was terrific, kept me from having surgery. Retail services include a state-of-the-art fitness center, personal training, and many other services that Mike will be telling us about. The center also offers a number of programs for individuals with medical conditions, including one for Parkinson's disease, which was developed by ColumbusRotary's own David Zid. Mike began his professional career in 2000 as manager at the McConnell Center. In 2005, Mike was recruited to be general manager of the Wellness Center, a medical fitness center in Tennessee. Then in 2008, Mike became the executive director of the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine, Medical Fitness, and Wellness Center. That's quite a mouthful. I'm glad I wasn't answering the phone there. Finally, in 2011, Ohiohealth recruited him back to the McConnell Center as senior director, where he's been since. He holds a PhD in pharmacology from the University of Houston and a bachelor's degree in chemistry and exercise science from Texas Lutheran University. Mike grew up in Texas, which we won't hold up, against him today, even though it's football season. And he played high school football in the backfield on the same team as Texas high school football legend Stone Cold Steve Austin. So there were actually at least two legends playing there. Mike said he's proud of his wonderful wife of 14 years and their two lovely daughters, who actually, he said, the daughters are born in different states. So his family represents Texas, Ohio, Tennessee, and Pennsylvania. And I just found out this is Mike's birthday today. And not that you might want to know this, but tomorrow's my birthday. So. Mike and I will be in the back of the room afterwards if anybody wanted to give us a gift. So now please join me in welcoming this proud Texan and now also proud Buckeye, Mike Hyek.
All right, thanks, Charlie. Thanks, President Paul. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Love to talk to people about wellness, fitness, corporate opportunities. I do want to say in response to what Charlie said that, I think it's always important for somebody to keep you humble, to always have that one person that no matter how successful you think you're becoming, they keep you humble. And a friend of mine introduced me not too long ago, and he was talking all these accolades about things I had accomplished. And after he told that I had a PhD in pharmacology from Texas, he paused and he said, I need to make sure that everyone here understands that although it sounds good, a PhD in Texas is about the 7th grade in most other states. Yeah, that'd keep you humble, right? So I'll tell you a real quick story. I noticed when I came in that there's a process, right? You register, you make some contribution, or there's a money exchange, you go through, you sit down, they're conditioning you, right? Well, years ago, when my wife and I lived in Tennessee, there was a story of this eccentric bachelor, rich guy, had all the money you could ever want, but he never went anywhere because he lived at home with his mother and he had a pet cat. And the reason he never wanted to go anywhere because of this pet cat, he always thought something would happen to the pet cat. So one day his brother said, you got all this money, you've always wanted to travel, why don't you go to Paris? You've been wanting to go to Paris your whole life. Go over to Paris, have a good time, I'll move in with mother and I'll take care of the pet cat. So on a plane he went, he landed, he called home, he asked his brother, how's the pet cat? The brother said, the cat's dead. So he was so distraught and went to his hotel room for 5 days, never came out of his room. So he finally called his brother, and when he got him on the phone, he said, you know, you handled that very badly. And his brother said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you could have conditioned me. He said, well, how could I have done that? He said, well, the first day when I called, you could have said the cat's up on the roof, and we hadn't been able to get her down. The next day when I called, you could have said, well, we got her down, but she's a little ill, but we're still optimistic. The third day when I called, you could have said, we got her to the veterinarian, and it's not looking good. He said, that way, the fourth day when I called, you would have conditioned me to say the cat's dead. The brother said, I'll try to remember that next time. So the guy says, by the way, how's Mom? He says, she's up on the roof.
That's good.
So I don't know if you can see the slides or not, hopefully. Truth be told, never been a member of the Rotary Club, but mighty fine establishment and love being here. When I was a 9-year-old kid, this is me when I was 12 in the red box there. This is proof that I played for the Rotary-sponsored Little League baseball team in the little town of Edna, Texas. And you can see across the bottom, we won the sportsmanship trophy. And I told my wife this morning, I believe that was because we were horrible as a team, so they needed to give us some kind of a award. So we got the sportsmanship trophy. And Charlie mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin and I playing high school football together, and I did want to share with you that the competition in Little League was quite keen, and there's Steve Williams, known as Stone Cold Steve Austin, up in the top row there. So some affiliation with the Rotary Club. I'll talk to you a little bit about Ohiohealth, although it's not intended to be a commercial, just to point you in a direction. So we're a faith-based, not-for-profit healthcare system. Many of you know that. Big footprint across central Ohio, going as far south as Athens, as far north as Mansfield. We're about 28,000 strong when you consider volunteers, associates, and physicians. And you can sort of see to the right some of the statistics of ED visits and surgeries and clinical trials and so forth that we are involved in. I have the sheer pleasure of being the care site owner for the Ohiohealth McConnell Heart Health Center. The key points here, Mr. McConnell, John H. in the left corner with his lovely wife Peggy. So the story of the center, which I always love to share, is really proud of it, is that John and his contemporaries used to go out east to the campus of Duke for a couple of weeks every year, and he would tell the story that for 2 weeks out of the year, he and his buddies wouldn't smoke their cigars, they wouldn't drink, they'd eat healthy, they'd exercise, they'd manage their stress, and then the other 50 weeks out of the year, they'd come back and do it all over again. So he thought, wouldn't it be great to have a facility like that in Columbus? Well, combine that with about the same time frame, his wife had a tumor in her heart that was removed by the staff at Riverside. So those two things came together nicely, and he had a $7.5 million donation in the mid-90s that led to the building of the McConnell Heart Health Center, which is an integrated medical fitness center. I'll talk to you a little bit more about in a second. But just a wonderful, wonderful building. If you never had a chance to be through it, would love to have you. So inside the building, we offer clinical programs and retail programs. So just to kind of define that, a clinical program would be something where your doctor refers you, you bring your insurance card, it runs through your insurance company, maybe you have a copay, maybe you don't. The retail programs are, in essence, I bill you $1 and you pay me $1. So on the cardiac focus, we have cardiac and pulmonary rehab that we offer in our facility. We have a lipid clinic with a physician who sees folks that have significant lipid challenges. We offer a surgical and non-surgical weight management program, and we also do diabetes and nutrition. On the orthopedic side, our physicians are a non-surgical orthopedic practice. A couple of them are also team physicians for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we offer a variety of other programs inside of that space itself. And then in retail programs, we have a state-of-the-art fitness center where we have almost 5,000 members. We do traditional programs like group exercise and personal training and massage, and we have an on-site cafe. We operate Big Red's Lodges, which are 8 cottages on our property Big Red was Mr. McConnell's nickname, hence the name of the lodges. We do a lot of clinical retail programs for folks that, as Charlie mentioned, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, stroke, cancer. And we also have lots of relationships with corporations across the footprint, everything from on-site lunch and learn sessions to incentive-based group exercise classes and weight loss programs. So we have a lot of interaction in the corporate space with clients as well. So that's a little bit about what we do. So in kind of shifting to what I came to talk to you about today and putting the commercial part of the presentation behind, when I think about doing a presentation, you know, I like to think about being in the audience and what is it that I want to walk away with. So sometimes I think we tend to think, what can I tell the group, as opposed to what does the group want to hear? And so I hope today that three things happen, at least one of those, that you get a personal benefit from having been here, that your company gets a personal benefit from you having been here, and that you walk away thinking, wow, I'm really glad that I took time from whatever my busy schedule was today to come and hear that particular presentation. So what I want to connect on today are three things. What is wellness? The impact of wellness on the corporate landscape, and the impact of wellness on leadership. And I think you'll find some of this interesting, and I hope worth the time that we spend together. So before we go further, a little audience participation here. So I'm going to put a question on the screen in just a second, and when I do, I would like you to think about the very first word or phrase that comes to mind and lock it in, because I'm going to do a poll after we do that. So the question is, what is wellness? Lock it in? Okay. How many people in the room, by a show of hands, the word exercise, movement, physical activity, running, jogging, anything that has to do with movement, that's the first thing that came to your mind? Show of hands. Okay? Second group, second question. How many of you thought of nutrition, eating healthy, losing weight? Show of hands. Okay? How many of you thought about stress management, managing depression, job stress? Show of hands. Okay, so everyone who raised your hand to any one of those questions, put your hand back up in the air. So you guys look around, clear majority of the folks in the room. And this is what we tend to think about when we think about wellness. But wellness is a much more multifaceted issue, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So I'm going to skip a little bit, but the experts agree that wellness is a conscious, self-directed, evolving process. It's multidimensional, it's holistic, it's positive and affirming. And the National Wellness Institute goes as far as saying wellness is an active process through which people become aware of and make choices toward a successful existence. So you can see that this is what the wellness experts are thinking about when they think about wellness, whereas the majority of us are thinking in that space of exercise, eating better, and managing our stress. And so this is one of the reasons why there's a trend away from calling it wellness and a transition in the corporate space to talking about well-being, because it's more focused on the whole well-being of the individual. So the way that different organizations represent wellness, I'll show you three here, but there are multiple dimensions that different organizations represent graphically in different ways. This is National Wellness Institute talks about 6 dimensions of wellness: occupational, physical, social, intellectual, spiritual, and emotional. Another group has a wellness circle, 6 dimensions of wellness, some the same, some different. At Ohiohealth, we use what we call a wellness wheel that has 5 dimensions of wellness: professional, physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual. And the point of this is that what one individual thinks about in terms of wellness is not exactly the same as what another person thinks about when they think about wellness. I'll give you an example. Within Ohiohealth, we recently started a program called the Fitness Rewards Program. And basically, it allows our associates to join a fitness center and attend. And if they achieve a certain attendance criteria, they can get their membership fees reimbursed to them. So you achieve X number, you get 100% back. You achieve a lower number, you get 50% back. And if you don't reach the first threshold, you get nothing back. But it's an incentive-based, attendance-based fitness membership program. And so we launched that, and of the eligible associates who can participate, we're only in the 20 to 25% range. And you say, wow, only 20 to 25% of your associates participating in that program. But it emphasizes the point that wellness to one person is not the same as wellness to another person. Just because you have opportunity to access a fitness center and it's right next door to your house doesn't mean that an exercise program is where you want to focus. I use this as an example sometimes, but I'm sure there are a lot of single moms out there with 2 jobs that their idea of wellness is, could somebody take care of my 2 kids 2 nights, 1 day a week, so I can go get a cup of coffee and read a book. So everybody has a little bit of a different starting point, and what's wellness to one person might not be the same to another. The key is to find what you want to work on and start down a path. So I want to shift a little bit in the time we have and talk about how does wellness, your well-being, impact leadership. So how many of us here as developing leaders have spent time in classes learning how to delegate better, learning how to manage our time better, learning how to handle difficult conversations with employees, learning about how to be a better public speaker? But how many of you have ever had someone talk to you about how your personal wellness program, your personal wellness habits influence your ability as a leader? So I want to share just at least one study with you and spend a little time talking about how wellness impacts leadership. So this is one study done by the Center for Creative Leadership, and I'll just go through all of these quickly here. This was a study of top executives from across the country, 10 years of data collection. They compared regular exercisers to non-exercisers, and these are leaders again. And they did a cross-reference exercise status with the 360-degree assessment tool. And I think most of you are probably familiar with that tool. So what they found was that the exercise group rated significantly higher in areas like inspiring commitment, credibility, leading others and leading by example, creating synergy, interpersonal savvy, and resiliency. So this is just one particular wellness habit that leaders engage in that leads to all of these benefits as perceived by the people who report to them. Pretty powerful. So helps to kind of paint the picture of how important your personal engagement in a wellness program is and how your subordinates and peers are looking at you as a leader. So I spent some time with a couple of senior leaders at Ohiohealth and asked both of them these questions. What's the most meaningful benefit of your exercise program? And how does your exercise program impact you as a leader? So I won't go through all of these, but this is an executive vice president who says it's had an impact on my family. Now I see my kids taking the dog for a walk or hop on the elliptical machine and exercise. It allows me to decompress. And one interesting point, by losing weight and exercising, I've saved the organization more than $70,000 on the surgery and meds because I no longer need it. And how does it impact you as a leader? I feel less stressed and have more balance in my life. Personal appearance has an impact on group dynamics. He said that his personal health appearance influences what others think of him. And it's a great opportunity to lead by example. Another senior vice president, what's most meaningful about her exercise program? Early morning workout raises my energy level throughout the day, gives me a clearer head. And how does it impact you as a leader? Instills discipline. Even on the days I don't feel like it, I still do it. The discipline helps me face other things I don't necessarily enjoy doing. Enables me to be pretty consistent most of the time, and an optimism that helps her deal with the issues. So the next question was, what would you say to other leaders? So the feedback was, we need to practice what we preach with a focus on rising healthcare costs. If we don't set the example for ourselves, how can we expect others to do their part? Number 3, exercise and other healthy habits help you look and feel better. They help you increase and maintain self-confidence. So gives you a sense of what some senior leaders are doing, how they envision the importance of it, and the recommendations that they would make to other leaders as well. So what should your role be as a wellness leader in your organization? Well, sharing the vision of wellness. I think just like any other change that occurs in a large organization or a small organization, the associates are looking for where does the change get implemented, because the dominoes will start to fall from that point. If your level of engagement and enthusiasm starts in the middle of your organizational structure, it's probably going to trickle down from there. If it starts at a senior-most level of the organization, it will tend to trickle down from there. So sharing the vision of wellness, aligning your cultural touch points, monitor and celebrate success, and modeling the behaviors and participating yourself becomes particularly important. So in organizations where they're trying to get engagement around wellness, you hear conversations about walking meetings and getting up from your desk. You've probably heard sitting is the new smoking is the big buzz phrase in the corporate world. So getting up from your desk, walking around for 5 minutes, coming and sitting down, not sending an email to the person 2 offices down, getting up, walking to the office, and doing some things to get out and build relationships at the same time that you're trying to participate in wellness activities. Well, if you're the leader and you don't embrace those opportunities, then people don't feel comfortable getting up from their desk and walking for 5 minutes. They don't feel it's appropriate to go for a walk at lunchtime to get a couple of steps in their day. So participating in the activities, understanding the vision, and being an ambassador becomes particularly important for leaders. And how well do you think you personally represent wellness to your associates? Perhaps considering how do you rate yourself and how do your employees rate your wellness leadership? So I have a personal coach that I work with, and many of you may as well. And I think it's important to really stop and think that your associates are always watching what you're doing. Whether you're doing something or not doing something, they're watching. What are you eating? Do you exercise? How are you managing your stress? Are you reactive and quick to anger? Are you on your phone all the time instead of saying hello to people? So these are the types of things that I would encourage you to think about and ask yourself, I wonder what my associates are thinking about how I'm leading in the wellness space. Just some things to think about. So shifting over to the corporate wellness landscape. So Ohiohealth, through our Employer Services Division, engages in relationships with over 3,000 corporations across the Central Ohio footprint. And the interactions are everything from we provide flu shots for companies that don't have a vehicle to do that. And recently we entered into a partnership with Huntington Bank where we're managing their on-site wellness clinic and fitness center at their new Gateway location. So, and then there's a span of everything in between that. But the question becomes really, why is a culture of wellness so important? Now, you may not be able to see this, and I apologize for the lack of clarity, but basically it's talking about productivity and how productivity is impacted by health status and the impact on the bottom line. So you can't see in the graph, but basically it's telling you that the more chronic conditions that your associates have, the greater the impact on your bottom line from productivity standpoint. And it's also saying that it's independent of body weight. So you have a person who's normal weight but has significant chronic conditions, they're costing you a lot of money. You have someone who's overweight but they don't have any chronic conditions, they're still the same as the person who's not overweight. So the bottom line is, it's some of these chronic conditions is where the big spend is happening not just on the per member per month cost of medical benefits, but just the lost work time due to productivity. So let me give you a couple things to think about. So this really is a continuum. On your far left, if you can read that from the back, I tell you what, I need your eyes and you can have mine. On the far left in the black, it says premature death. And on the far right, it says high-level functioning. And this is really a continuum that is talking about, on the far left, associates or individuals who really aren't participating in much wellness behavior at all. And they're the ones who are probably costing you the most money, and they're the ones that are at highest risk. On the far right are the ones that have high-level functioning. They're leaning in, they're engaged, they're participating, they're engaged in wellness behaviors. And so if you think about this, if you throw 1,000 associates in there, you've got an array from the far left to the far right, and that's how they shake out. Well, in the corporate wellness arena, there's this continuum of knowledge about corporate wellness programs. On the far left, you have companies that have minimal knowledge or interest in wellness programs. Man, we got this manufacturing company, we don't have time for wellness, we got to, burn and churn, and we got to get the, impact on the bottom line. And on the far right, you have companies that are analyzing their data. They're looking at what's our greatest spend from a medical cost standpoint. Is it our diabetics? Is it joint replacement? What is it? And then they're trying to create an intervention to try to offset where their big spend is. So on the far left, you might have a company that says, boy, we got a lot of smokers. We need to call someone to get a smoking cessation program. And that's their first step into the wellness arena, their first ability to say, we have a wellness program because we've got an intervention for our smokers. On the far right, the data-driven programs. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of some things that we're doing at Ohiohealth, and I think a trend that you're going to start seeing. So when you understand your workforce and understand where your biggest spend is located, that can help you strategically start to decide what's the intervention. So for us, we understood that our diabetics in our population are costing us a significant amount of money on the per member per month spend. The consequences of diabetes, the age of onset predicts the number of years of life lost. Because of the devastating conditions and devastating complications that are associated with diabetes, there's a significant impact on quality of life, not just years of life. And individuals with diabetes are at greater risk for such things as heart and vascular disease, among other things. So again, apologize for the inability to see the numbers, but I'll basically tell you what the gist of this slide is. In red, you see the per member per month cost of a diabetic after they become a diabetic. In blue, it's the per member per month cost prior to the person becoming diabetic. So if you look at the column on the far right where you've got a giant red stack against a blue stack that's about half that size, what that's telling you is that when an individual goes from being pre-diabetic to diabetic, the per member per month medical cost doubles. So you think about a corporation that has 28,000 associates with X number going from pre-diabetic to diabetic every year and the impact of that on the bottom line. So what's the intervention? Well, there's a program called the Diabetes Prevention Program that was initially published in the New England Journal of Medicine by the Centers for Disease Control, that's the CDC. And in essence, it's a program that looks to address lifestyle issues in individuals who are diagnosed as pre-diabetic. And what you can see here is that in the 3-year result on your left, the lifestyle intervention led to a 58% reduction in individuals moving from pre-diabetic to diabetic. And that was better than the red, which is medication only. And on the far right, it's showing you the 10-year follow-up. There's still a 34% reduction 10 years later in individuals moving from pre-diabetic to diabetic. So significant control there. So for us, and some of the clinical results that we've had, 638 participants to date, over 3,500 pounds lost, and we've prevented 71 cases of type 2 diabetes. So we prevented 71 individuals from moving from pre-diabetic to diabetic, and the impact has been over $500,000 in savings. So again, understanding the workforce, significant number of diabetics, what's the intervention, and how do you measure the success after that? One other, opportunities around knee replacement. So orthopedic care is a significant contributor to the medical spend in our population, with knee replacement being a significant driver. And the trends are similar to national statistics. So the curve on top that's going up, that shows you from 2005 out to 2030 what the national trend is toward knee replacement. So not only is the number going up exponentially, but the projection is that there won't be enough orthopedic surgeons to handle all of the knee replacements that need to happen. So what are we doing? We've developed a non-surgical program to improve pain and function while potentially delaying the need to replace the knee. And so we think that if we can improve the strength, improve the quality of life, then we can delay the need for knee replacements. And what we've seen with the program that we've launched is between FY15 and FY16, we had a 36% increase in total knee replacements. And you see the little mark down the middle, that's where our knee wellness program was launched. So from FY16 to FY17, we had a 9% decrease in the total number of knee replacements. So again, going back just to the idea of corporate wellness and where folks are on this continuum between just getting started and looking at the data to determine where the intervention is going to take place, the range is pretty significant. But this is a direction that a lot of companies are moving when they appreciate the seemingly endless ongoing rise in healthcare costs. There really is a need to try to get that under control by understanding where the risk is in your population and then trying to add an intervention to do something about it. So bringing it all back together, we talked a little bit about wellness. Again, that wellness for one person isn't necessarily the same as wellness for another. Thinking about all these dimensions of wellness, where do you see an opportunity for you or your associates to just pick one thing and to start being consistent with that, build up the habit, and add another? The impact of wellness on leadership, we talked just about regular exercisers and how that improves your ability to manage your anger, how it improves your resiliency, how it improves your interaction with your associates, how they think about you from a credibility standpoint. And then last, the corporate wellness landscape, again, thinking about what are the opportunities with your associate population and what are the interventions that you might think about to help reduce your per member per month spend. And I just want to close with that. I'll answer whatever questions you have, but I want to make sure I thank you again for this great opportunity to be here, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Questions?
Yes,
John
sir.
Stewart.
We have a small business, 50 to 100 lives, and one of the biggest frustrations we have is the inability to get data from a group insurance carrier. You got any recommendations on that? We can't really address our issue.
Yeah, that's a oh, so the question is, he has a small company with 50 to 100 associates, and they're struggling to get data from the insurance carrier as to tell them what it is that they might want to work on because of confidentiality and that sort of thing. One of the things that you might consider is having a third party who's helping you to manage what those circumstances are, because if you can contractually separate you from the carrier with a third party and get the information in aggregate, then you may be able to make some decisions. The other thing I would say is before you get a third party, you may want to just talk to them about what are the opportunities to get the information in aggregate? So it's not, Bill Smith, Mary Jones, it's totally, here's where our opportunities are. Seems like that's preserving the confidentiality, but I'm not positive that you would have success there. Yes, sir.
So genetics testing, genome studies, are they going to creep into wellness and helping get better data and better remediation of risks?
Yeah, so I'll approach that real carefully. I'm not an expert by any means. Some of my graduate work years ago, I did some work about, I did some work with transgenic mice. And I'm going off on target, but I'm going to come back in a second. So these were mice that they were bred with a certain gene that you wanted them to express, right? And so when they grew up, you saw it. You could see the gene. The hair was longer, the hair was shorter, the animal didn't have any hair, that type of thing. And I think that there's some interesting work going on in this whole field of genetic testing. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but if you think about an individual with Huntington's chorea, it's called the dancing disease, right? If you have that gene, and you know that you have that gene, which is easy enough to find out, you know that age 40 to 45, your life expectancy, that's about as long as you're going to live. So if you go down a path where somebody knows that they have that gene and an insurance carrier knows that you have that gene, are they going to insure you or not? So, boy, I'll be interested to see where that goes, but boy, that's a great conversation starter. I don't know if that answers your question, but interesting lens to look through. Yes, sir.
Is Ohiohealth still taking on new clients? And if so, how do we get a hold of, who should we call?
Is this David Zid in the back? Like, there's this light coming in around you, David. I didn't know if it was like Jesus was in the back or, Ohiohealth taking on new clients for
wellness programs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for teeing that up. So within Ohiohealth, we have an employer services division that really is responsible for building the relationships with corporations and being the liaison to help you with whatever your needs are. We need flu shots, we need drug screenings, we need smoking cessation. We really can help you with a lot of those things, trying to keep it away from being a commercial, but since someone asked the question, I felt the need to answer. David. And a great partner right there in the back, David Zid. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You didn't mention anything about spouses of employees. Do you work with spouses on the wellness program and emphasizing their healthy habits and lifestyle?
Yeah, so great question. I can speak to what we do at Ohiohealth. So we're starting to get into the space of where we're really looking at the health and wellness of the associates. So every year, one of the things that we have to do as benefits eligible associates is there's an online health assessment that we have to do and our spouse has to do in order to get the benefit, which is a reduction in our premiums. We also have a program that's called, it's a Virgin Health Miles partnership where we wear a pedometer. And we track our steps, we track our workout, we track things like, did you drink water today? Did you take the steps today? And you can accumulate points toward a financial incentive. And the spouse is now eligible for that program as well. So there's definitely a trend in that direction. The diabetes prevention program that I talked a little bit about, spouses are covered under that as well. So there definitely is an interest not just in the associate but in the family as well. A great question. Thank you.
That'll be it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
Dr. Hyek will be around for a little bit. I know we had a couple more questions, but thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for that important talk. Two important takeaways, for this group in particular. Let's stay healthy out there and stay off the roof. So I hope to see you again next week. We're going to have Dr. Deborah Lindsay here, and she's going to be speaking about Christian-Muslim relations. So see you next week, and stay off the roof.